Hello. Welcome to episode 2 of the Facts Not Fear podcast. We have a guest today, and I'm going to let Emily. I keep doing that. You're that way. I'm going to let
Yep.
Emily bring her in.
So obviously I'm Shark Lady Emily, and so Chelsea is down here, and she and I met at an aquarium that's was mutually kind of in between where we lived, and she was an animal caretaker, and I was the head of education. She and I got along very well and bonded pretty much over a lot of things, but she's more of a mammal expert, and I'm more of the shark expert. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down to her. This is Chelsea, everybody.
Hi guys.
Yeah, so just give us a quick intro about yourself. How'd you get involved in what you do in wildlife from as far back as you can remember? I mean, start from the beginning.
Oh god, all the way back to the beginning.
Yeah.
So when I was 3, I fell in love with Shamu.
All right.
And since then, Animal World has always been my number one goal. Pretty much taken over my entire life. Didn't really care about anything else other than animals, specifically like orcas and cetaceans and marine mammals. Thought that I was going to go into that. Went to school at the University of New England, which is another thing that Emily and I actually
Have in
share.
common.
And I got my degree in psychobiology, which is a fancy term for marine biology and psychology mixed together. Basically, knowing the brain, like how to figure out the brain stuff going on in animals or humans. And then I did 3 internships. My first one was an education internship at SeaWorld.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
At SeaWorld Orlando. Then I did a reptile and bird internship at my Caldwell Zoo in Tyler, Texas. And then my third internship was at Miami Seaquarium before it got crappy. For marine mammal training. And then, unfortunately, I had a family problem that cut me out of the field for like 10 years. Then got to do the aquarium and got back into the field.
Very
Right,
cool.
I had a 10-year span too. I was married. It just some things happen, and then we get back to our main
That's
love
right.
and
That's right.
passion.
That's awesome. So, where are you currently working, and like, what is your day to day? Like, are you animal husbandry? What are you doing?
Yes, so I am what they call a relief keeper at
Mhm.
the Topeka Zoo in Kansas.
Mhm.
The reason that I joined this zoo in particular was because one of my mentors for Miami Seaquarium is actually the curator there, and
Oh, nice.
I was like, I saw an opening at her place, and I jokingly sent my resume in, and then I got a response
Yeah.
like, "Hey, we'd like to interview," and I was like, "All right, I'll just do an interview," and I get to chat on over the line with my former curator or for my former mentor and have a good time. And then they offered me the job, so I was
That's
like, "Why
awesome.
not?"
I think every little kids at one point has a dream of being like a zookeeper or working in a
Oh,
zoo. So
yeah.
it's
Yeah, and
definitely
like my
cool.
position's kind of unique because I'm not in the same area every day.
Hmm.
So literally my job is to take over somebody else's job when they go on their 2 days off because everybody deserves weekends.
Yeah.
So like the beginning of the week, I am in an area called Small Verts, where I'm taking care of anything from little frogs to opossums,
Hmm.
to black-footed ferrets. um,
Yeah.
and then like today I was in commissary, so I had to make all the diets for all the animals in the zoo.
Hmm.
And then tomorrow I'm in carnivore, which is I'm going to be dealing with otters and tigers and lions and maybe a bear.
Whoa.
That's
Oh
awesome.
my God, that's so cool.
That's very, very cool.
That's so cool, Chelsea.
Yeah.
What's your favorite place to be then in the zoo? What's your favorite animals to work with at the zoo?
Surprise.
Besides your
That
dog.
was hilarious. Me.
I mean,
Maui.
he wants to be part of the zoo because he gets
Right.
more attention there. That's Maui. You know what? Surprisingly, it's the opossum.
Really?
I love her so much. Like she's 6 months old, and I've been doing like I'm in charge of training her.
Yeah.
Like she is my project. I have taken her from not being handleable to shut up, Maui. Sorry.
It's fine.
Don't be sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Part of
We're
it.
casual here. It's part of it.
Very casual.
Yeah.
To actually being like the last Tuesday, I was able to like pick her up, hold her, and then bring her to like outside of her enclosure. So like the trust, the relationship building, that's what's awesome. And then I mean, I also like the otters.
Yeah. So tell me if I'm wrong here, but is the opossum, isn't that the only North American marsupial?
It is.
Okay.
And
Just
like
curious.
they only live to be
you guys are gonna nerd out to each other and stuff. It's
Yeah.
gonna be funny.
The sad thing is they only live to be about a year in the wild, and only about like the longest lived one under human care was about 4.5 years old.
4.5 years.
So like the previous
How old is she?
She's 6 months. We just got her.
Oh wow.
I've been working with her for about 3 months now.
Yep.
Our previous one unfortunately passed, and she had like stomach cancer. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
So I guess I just recently had a run-in with a possum because I have I have it on video too. My back porch, there's we have like a covered porch and like a fire pit, and then my cat hangs out there, and there's like an outdoor kitchen, and I was out there. It's probably 10:30 at night one day, and I kept hearing this noise, and I thought it was my cat, and Cookie is her name. So I was like, Cookie, what are you doing? And I look over there, and it's a full-grown adult possum, like staring at me. And probably I've seen
did you say Cookie?
I've seen a lot of them, especially when we go out to I don't do this anymore, but when I used to go out to the national forest and milk snakes, we'd see them out there a lot. And but this is the biggest one I've ever seen. I'll have to send you a video, but yeah, I didn't realize such a short lifespan. So what's their reproductive then? If they only live for an average of a year, how many litters or pups or whatever their reproductive cycle is in the wild?
So the opossum can have up to 22 pups.
Mm.
But they only have 13 nipples. So
oh wow!
Only 13 of them can latch on. The rest of them go by.
Yeah.
And then as they get older, they climb onto mom's lap or mom's back.
Yep.
And then as they fall off, mom doesn't stop for them. They're horrible mothers.
Oh my God.
Horrible mothers.
Oh no.
I would say maybe not the worst mothers, but like they're pretty bad.
I mean, it can't be worse than shark mothers, right?
I mean, procedural moms.
Somebody was really shocked the other day about that sharks don't do anything with their like babies, and I was like, what do you mean? I'm like, if anything, they'll eat the babies.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they do something with them, but
yeah,
no, like
little shark nuggets.
That's how we got our possums are rehabbed because
Yeah.
they're like found on the side of the road, or like mom gets hit by a car and like they're found in the pouch, and that's how we got Violet. So
I have to say that when Chelsea and I worked together, she was in charge of the birds, and so she was training the birds. And what we had were lorikeets. I barely even remember anything about them. It's terrible. Well, I did all the educational speeches, and so I should at least know something, but I can't remember anything. But except for like they're the smallest species of parrot, right? Aren't they?
No, they're not the smallest. They're just they're nectivores, which is weird for parrots. They don't eat seeds or nuts because they have like what's called a
bristled tongue or something, right?
Yeah. And like so they just drink nectar and fruit.
I didn't like them. I only liked the black with the long tail and the red.
Oh yeah,
remember her? Is that her name? I forget.
Yeah.
It was the female, but Rory. I liked how she looked. All the other ones I didn't really care about. But anyways, Chelsea was, Oh yeah, Cam was there.
But then we had to get rid of them.
She was a really good trainer for that. Unfortunately, when we worked at the aquarium, we didn't have very good management. And so it was really difficult to deal with in both of our aspects because we had a lot of ideas and they were always shot down. And even though I was kind of in a management position, I didn't have any pull, and it was just terrible. So she was unfortunately treated not very well. And that's one reason why I left. That's one reason why you ended up leaving. That's one reason why even other people have left is because of the management aspect of that.
There's not a single person that's originally there now.
Really?
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's true. And they have only been open for what, 4 or 5 years because of COVID. They were closed for maybe a year. So 5 years because it was
Not
2019.
We
It was 2019.
we opened in September of 2019, closed down March
of 2020, and then
they
didn't reopen till what, June
something like that of 2021
of the next year? Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
So they've only been open for like 4 years, maybe, and it's just not. Anyways, we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah.
But
That's fine.
That's
No.
where she and I. Sorry, but
Yeah.
that's where she and I ended up meeting, and we ended up bonding because we both ended up being like, okay, this is not where we should be. We both know that we're going, in other places and directions. So I'm thankful that we stayed in touch because she always had the really good marine mammal aspect of things. And I wanted to actually talk about, before I end up forgetting, about how you were saying about the brain patterns of marine mammals or mammals in general that you kind of studied. Is that correct? Or like so I say a lot of things because people always talk about in my lives in TikTok about how they think sharks and orcas and dolphins are similar, like the similar type of brain function or pattern. They don't even think of it. And I always say, no, fish have, or at least the predatory sharks have a different like thought process. They don't use like, not emotions, but almost like emotions, right? That dolphins or would use as like mammals. Is that like kind of, or different? Do you understand kind of where I'm talking about, though?
It's a little hard because, like, we're told not to anthropomorphize it at all, meaning not put human emotions onto the animals.
Mhm.
So, like, we're like in my world, you're taught that you can train anything, like, because I mean, behavior is like a result. So we're using like positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, positive punishment, positive or negative and then did I already say negative reinforcement? Positive punishment, positive reinforcement, negative negative punishment, positive punishment. Those are the like basically the 4 keys of training. If you're simplifying it down. So like basically positive reinforcement is when you want to make a behavior more frequent, you're giving something to make that behavior more frequent. Positive punishment is when you're giving something to make the behavior decrease. Gotcha. So like right now I'm taking my energy away from my dog right now to make him stop barking. So I am actually using negative negative reinforcement because I'm taking away something to make his quietness increase.
Right. That makes sense.
So
until he starts tearing up your couch.
So he's not that type of a
That's
butthole.
good.
He's more of a if I'm mad at you, I'm gonna go poop somewhere.
Gotcha.
He's a beagle.
Because, I know that you can definitely train sharks, and I understand that. I think because I was just thinking about. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, so I think what people are like mistaken. It's a different social structure.
Mm-hmm.
So there's
that's I think what I need to redo my language.
Yeah,
is a social structure.
Social structure. Yeah. So like orcas in particular, they're in a matrilineal family oriented group. There are other cetaceans like porpoises who live alone. They don't really have a social structure. That doesn't negate whether or not like they're smart or not.
Not to be confused with dolphins. I get this all the time and it drives me crazy. Porpoises and dolphins are 2 different things.
Well,
okay, good.
So you've got
but what is the difference? Let's clarify because I actually don't know because I don't know anything about dolphins, porpoises, marine mammals. So what is the difference?
I'll let you take it.
Okay, so the morphological differences, meaning what they visually look like. If you're gonna look at their dorsal fin, porpoises' dorsal fins are more like spade shaped, kind of like this. Actually, you know what? I brought a book.
Yay!
Oh, good. Yeah.
I love it.
I was like, I'm going to be prepared.
See, yep, and I see. It's okay. We're all prepared. I
have
have
a
my shark book
bookshelf
here.
full of books behind me.
Yeah, and I have my fossils.
So,
I have my teeth. We're
Yeah,
ready. I
we're
love
ready.
it.
let's
Okay,
see.
yep.
Let me see if I can actually get it because I can't see. All right, so can you see that at all? Is that
Turn it the other, twist it, and put it more to your left.
Kind of can see it.
You're so cute.
there?
There you go. Stop.
There we
Stop.
go.
Stop.
There
Stop.
you go.
So
Perfect.
top
Hold.
one-
Hold.
Hold.
Top one is of the cheetah, which is the smallest porpoise and the most endangered
Yeah, very endangered.
cetacean in the world. And then
Uh-huh.
you've got your Indo-Pacific dolphin. So you can see how like the I mean, this is actually a bad example because the dorsal fins look very similar, but like their teeth are also very different. So
Okay.
Porpoises have spade teeth. I keep saying spade, but that's basically what they're taught. Let's see. Let's get to the porpoise section. No, well, here's a harbor porpoise.
Yeah.
We actually have harbor porpoises in Maine.
And are they smaller than generally than dolphins, or is that just kind of
Typically,
a not?
yeah.
Mhm.
Let's see. There's
Oh,
finless
your camera.
dolphins.
I think your camera's going. I think your setup's going. Oh no.
No, not the.
Not the professional mounting system.
Yeah, you can feel free to add that too, because I'm pretty proud of it actually.
Oh, that's hilarious.
This is
There you
like
go.
the teeth. So here you can see the teeth.
Mhm.
Yep.
So dolphin versus porpoise right there.
Yeah.
See the difference? Like it's spade versus the conical.
Yeah, more pointed versus rounded almost, or thicker,
Yeah, and then you can
wider.
kind of see
The beak is
dorsal
really short
fin.
too.
Like
Oh,
yeah, they
okay.
don't really have a rostrum, which is like their nose.
Yep.
Their
Okay,
head
I
tends to be a little
understand that
bit-
now.
Their head tends to be a little bit more bulbous.
Mhm.
They've got like I don't know. I don't really see it. Like I personally don't really see the difference between in their like front flippers or not their pectoral fins, but
Yeah.
They almost look a whale-like more than dolphin-like.
yeah,
that
they're
make
like a
sense?
weird
Like-
little cross.
Not like a
but like
beast.
they're more solo animals. You don't really see them together, except for well, it depends on the species again. Dall's porpoises run in pods,
Mhm.
so it's really the individual species you're looking at.
I know it's so hard to generalize like one statement for like such a broad type of.
The big thing is porpoises
Yeah.
are way smaller than dolphins.
Yeah, and like I mean, let's see. I think finless porpoises are probably the largest ones.
Mhm.
They're like about 6 feet.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Well,
There's some really
the
cool.
speckled porpoise is 7.5 feet.
Oh, there you
So,
go.
I mean,
Well, yeah.
like, and like there are some dolphins that are tiny too. Like I used to work with
Yeah, right.
Pacific white-sided dolphins, which are like 4 feet.
Yeah.
And then you have the what is it called? The Commerson dolphin, which is tiny, like literally, like SeaWorld Orlando Aquatica has them.
Yeah.
So
And then you get the orca, who's the
largest dolphin, not a
largest
whale.
species of dolphin. Everybody, the
Yes.
largest species.
I
of
tell people that all the
dolphin.
time, and heard live. I'll be like, no, they're literally the largest species of dolphin. They're in the Delphinus.
And they're like, no, it's a whale.
They're-
And I'm like,
yeah.
no, it's not. Just like the whale shark is not a whale. It's named
very-
after.
yeah.
the
It's
fact
all
that it
about
looks like a
names.
whale.
Yeah.
The killer whale is named
like-
after like a killing of whales, not an actual whale.
Yeah, I mean it's pneumoculture, whatever it's called. I don't want to try to use fancy words when I can't pronounce it.
I do the same. I'm like, whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it is. I mean, it really depends on the individual species. I mean, even in the individual species, there's different ecotypes, like which for orcas, I mean, there's 10 different ecotypes of orcas, and within those ecotypes, there's also different ways of behavior and everything to separate each pod and
Yeah.
I was just reading that the different types of behavior of predatory behavior. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
pretty cool too. And I know there are orcas. I don't remember where I was watching this or reading this, but orcas like on the West Coast that um, will two different hunting behaviors. Like there's a pod of orcas that will only eat stingray and fish, and then there's a pod of orcas that will only eat marine mammals. And I
Mhm.
know that, like, I think it's up in the Pacific Northwest right now. They're having an issue with the salmon, or yeah,
Yeah,
because the
so
orcas are eating the salmon, or
yeah.
have keyed in on the salmon. So they're trying to figure out how to introduce more cetaceans for them to eat, or not to eat, but how do you change the generational behavior?
Wow. So that's what I'm talking about. I think that,
So
and I just want to preface like one thing. I think that this is amazing to see though, because I personally think this is like adaptation and evolution, like right in front of us. Like they're
mm,
just like kind of like going with the flow and taking what they can at the, I mean, I'm
they
sorry, I didn't
figured
mean
for
to say
some
that, but I
way,
just
yeah,
really,
for some reason they figured out these salmon are easy to get. I guess I
yeah.
don't
And
know.
even different places all over the world, they're taking advantage
Yeah.
of the easiest prey. Am I right? Chelsea,
Mhm.
sorry,
yeah.
that just have to
So
say, I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
I actually have notes on this because this was what I was doing.
Yay.
This is what I was doing during my lunch break because
This is
I'm a
why I
nerd.
love you, Chelsea, because this is exactly what I like to think about. Even if it has to do with orcas, I'm just kind of like, this is cool.
Yeah,
So
Emily's gonna see a side of me she hasn't seen before.
Well,
I love to
this
talk
is
about
cool
marine
though,
mammals.
because now we can actually kind of, I feel like this is good for all of us.
Mm,
yeah, like well, it's good because all three of us have like a different kind of like. You're like a wildlife biologist, and I'm more of a like under human care person,
yeah,
but who has a
It's
passion for
true.
orcas.
yeah.
And then there's Emily, who's like all sharks and diving and like
All
Fossils
the
and
different, yeah,
also,
oh, yeah,
yeah. But
absolutely.
orcas in
tattoos.
particular, like I don't know, they've been my passion since I was two,
Mm,
so or
Yeah.
three. Um, so like really any kind of like thing that comes up, I'm like, oh, what's that? Like,
yeah, yeah,
and since like I was little, like so much more has been known because we were able to study different things under human care that we can't really study out in the wild, like
yeah.
their birth rates, because out in the wild, it's really hard to study calves that are under a year old. Like
Hmm.
the mortality rate is really like they can estimate, and it's getting better now that like there's so many more people watching them. But like
Hmm.
when this study first came out, nobody even like people thought that they were nuisance animals and would kill them.
Yeah,
Then SeaWorld comes, has them under human care, makes them like lovable animals that like people can interact with, and all of a sudden that's when people start caring about them, and then they
yeah,
become this like, oh my god, it's killer whales,
yeah.
and then like all of a sudden like you have your animal rights people who are like,
Yeah.
oh, you shouldn't have them under human care, and then that's where like now you're getting the whole whether or not they should be.
Hmm.
And
And
the thing that we have to say now is that laws have changed and there are things now that have changed. Unfortunately, what's in there,
well, the
we can talk
United
about that, but
I was saying
what's
the
good is
United
that not it's not being done anymore. We're not holding the
Oh,
animals. Oh,
she's coming back.
we
She's right.
switched. Woo!
oh,
There we go.
Ah!
Okay.
uh, well, in the United States, there hasn't been a wild orca taken since 1972.
Yeah.
Oh.
The
So they've
marine
just been
mammal,
bred?
yeah, most of them have been bred under human care. There's three now that were wild caught.
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
under like in the United States, like Russia, Japan, that's a whole different
Right,
Uh,
right.
and that's a whole another
yeah.
thing. But even like I think Spain, Parca Loro has one orca that was born out in the wild, and that's because her name's Morgan, and they
Hmm.
rehabbed her, and they couldn't release her because she's deaf.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
putting
No
that animal out in the
communication.
wild,
No. Yeah.
yeah,
She can't. Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
there was big
So they have to.
controversy.
So it'd be beneficial to keep her
Yeah.
anyways, or unless she's
Right.
not.
I
Yeah, yeah.
mean,
Hmm.
give the animal like why make the animal like I mean, there's countries that don't have rehab
Hmm.
facilities, so what happens when stranding happens? They just like
Yeah.
and they can't refloat them immediately, which isn't necessarily the best thing to do with cetaceans.
Hmm.
Mm.
Um they just die anyway.
Yeah. I gotcha.
So you're like putting animals suffer or they're humanely euthanized.
Hmm.
But Morgan was able to give a second chance in life, and they do a lot of like hearing studies with her. Not that she can hear, but like
Yeah.
they do like a lot of visual studies, and that's one of the things that I love about the um, marine mammal field is like there's so much like there's so many papers and everything that are done. Like it's not only educational, but it's also research funded.
Yeah. Do you guys have marine mammals at your facility?
No, the closest thing we have are North American river otters.
Okay, that's funny because the South Carolina Aquarium doesn't have marine mammals, and it's because of the Marine Mammal Protection Act. And I'm pretty sure we are the only state where it's illegal to house marine mammals. I think I could be wrong.
They tried to pass it in Connecticut,
Mhm.
but it failed.
Connecticut still has belugas and stuff.
Yeah,
from what
Mystic's one
Yep.
of the.
I used to work at Mystic Aquarium. I mean, I love the beluga whales are beautiful and they're really, really very smart
And
animals. Like
they're
very smart.
funny because people think their head's hard, but it's like this gooey, like
Oh my gosh,
blobby.
it's just a dome.
The
They feel
dome,
like
yeah.
a rubbery marshmallow. I love it.
Yeah, and they're super smart. Which they're very cool though animals. I learned. I used to have to read, the little speeches and stuff, and that was just the coolest thing ever. Like they are really smart animals.
Yeah.
I liked them, and then we had stellar sea lions too.
Yeah.
Those are
huge.
and all the other ones too. Yeah. Anyways.
Belugas are the only cetacean that don't have a fused vertebrae, so they can actually turn do this and then do this.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, because that's what they do. They have there's one especially that's been there for a long time. He's very old, and he does that. He does the blah blah blah, and he does all the movements behind kids, and he blows the bubbles and kisses and stuff. It's cute.
Juno.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's hilarious.
I'm a big fan of Juno.
He's been there since I even worked there. I worked there 20 years ago almost.
Yeah, I don't know if he's that old. But
he's old because I worked there when I was 24. So that's 19 years. He's been there since I was there. I swear to you, because that's one of the main ones that I remember. He's the largest, whoever the largest male is, he was huge, and he's been there forever.
I think he's the only male that they have right now. I know they have at least 2 other females. They might have a 3rd female.
And they had a young one when I was there too. I
don't think Mystic's ever been successful at breeding.
No, it was gray though, so it was not. It was still juvenile.
Yeah, because as they start off gray and then go into white as they get older.
Yeah,
those are the only facts I know, Chelsea. That's why I'm spitting them out. So
I'm jealous of people who have. Well, I shouldn't say jealous because there is the Riverbank Zoo in Columbia, South Carolina, which is in the middle of the state, has some marine mammals, and I think it was like a grandfathered in situation because they do have polar bear, which is fun fact, a marine mammal. Any mammal that spends more than 90% of its life in water or marine water.
Yep.
I think it's that or most of their prey.
Terrain.
It's what they eat too, and that's how a polar bear is a marine mammal, but not a grizzly.
Right. Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah.
Does that have to do with their terrain too? The fact that it hunts in water as well? Do you know what I'm saying?
I don't remember.
I don't either.
It's marine. So it's part of it because the polar bear is most obviously hunting in marine environment, whereas
in the marine area.
grizzly is it's water, but it's freshwater.
Most freshwater, and it's usually river systems, not in more of the frickin' diving in the ocean.
Yeah. So I do have some questions because I used to be obsessed.
Yes.
I used to be obsessed with marine. I still am obsessed with marine mammals, but I have a book I read. I remember I've read this book front and back probably. I don't even know how many times since I was a little kid, but it's just a guide to marine mammals of the world book that I have. It's like this thick that I used to read all the time. And I was always fascinated because we only really have, we have a lot of dolphin species and stuff here in South Carolina, but we don't have seals. We don't have sea lions. We do get every now and then, it always makes the news, a stray harbor seal will show up on the beaches, very lost, and then go back up. But it's not very common. So I did have a question. Orcas, when I remember, I could be wrong, but when I remember reading the book, don't they have a global range?
Yeah. So the studies have gone they've kind of divided them into northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere, but they're found in all oceans in all the world.
Okay. Yeah.
So and depending on the most studied orcas in the world are the orcas of the North Pacific.
Yeah.
And that's because Balka, what is his first name? I can't remember his first name right now, but his last name is Balcom, and he unfortunately passed away a couple years ago. was like, you can identify these guys using their back, like their dorsal fins and their saddle patch patterns.
Yeah.
And like nobody believed him, so he cataloged the southern resident killer whales, which are now the most endangered species or population of orcas.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are found in like Puget Sound, and then like the Washington State, like the sometimes like Oregon. And they went from, I think, 400 individuals to there's like 80 of them now.
wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and then the northern resident orcas, and these guys are all fish eaters. So, when you're talking about resident orcas, you're specifically talking about the Pacific Northwest fish eating population. And there's two what they call clans. So, you've got your southern resident killer whales and your northern resident killer whales. And then each clan is divided into pods. So, you've got.
Okay.
So, and your southern resident killer whales, you've got J, K, and L. And then L pod has the most individuals with 100, or like, sorry, not 100. Sorry, they've got the most with. I'm trying. Like, I just did a whole bunch of research with Tokate a couple of months ago.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, there was a whole thing about that. So, but basically, the L pod has the most alive. K has the least. J is kind of somewhere in the middle. And then with your northern residents, there's 200 individuals.
Oh wow.
So, and that's pods A, G, and R. They don't seem to be as affected by the salmon fallout as much as like the southern residents, even though their environments overlap. So we're not quite sure why that's happening. But it's actually illegal to get, like, the southern resident orcas actually have a larger space that you can't like intour on them. So like it's normally 200 feet, I believe, or 200 meters. That's how close you can get to an orca.
Yeah.
But for the southern residents, it's like doubled.
Oh yeah, because such lower numbers.
Yeah, and I think it's because of the sound. Like they're rely so much on sound that it interrupts their feeding. And they do feed as a group, so they'll work as a group to feed on their the herring and everything. And then you have another population up there, your transients, called the Biggs killer whales, and those are your mammal eating orcas, and they eat only mammals.
Yeah.
And so they'll move more. I mean, I know they're all migratory, right? But they'll move more because of their prey moving more.
Yeah, so they're the ones that'll like move. They have a longer distance of things. Not saying that like the residents don't migrate, because they do, like, but it's just a smaller migration pattern.
Yep.
And then they just
which
found
makes
another.
Complete sense.
Yeah, and what's cool is they just found another like clan group ecotype. I don't know what they're gonna call it. They're called the New Eastern Tropical Pacific orcas.
Oh jeez. Okay.
So,
wow.
They're
That's very,
and those guys
very specific.
those guys are mammal eaters and sometimes shark eaters.
Okay.
And
good. This is what we need to start talking about.
And they're found in the Pacific, like by Baja, California, and the Gulf of California.
Yep.
And then you've got your offshore orcas, which are like they don't come close to shore. And all of these animals actually look different. Like, so there's morphological differences. Like transients, their dorsal fins tend to slant more forward and be more triangular shaped. They tend to be a little bit smaller. They don't have as many animals in their pod. They have like 2 to 6 individuals versus your residents, which have like 6 to 10, depending on like the individual pod. Your residents have more of a sickle shaped dorsal fin. They tend to be a little bit bigger. And then like their hunting behaviors are different. So then that's just the North Pacific. Like, so then when you're going around the world, like there's down in down in Venezuela, in the Valdez Peninsula. That's where
Mhm.
you see the orcas coming up on shore eating the sea lions.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
those
Oh,
famous
okay.
like beaching orcas.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a specific pod that has learned that and passed it on by generations, and it's the female teaching teaching.
This is why I think, at least when it comes to like, well, the family Delphinidae in particular, but why I love them so much is because I always joke around and I say if dolphins had 2 legs and could walk, they would be the dominant species on this planet, not us. That's why I always joke around with people like
yeah,
that.
no, and
I have to tell
Yeah.
you, like, this is like adaptation, like right there
They're so smart.
in people's faces. You have one species, an orca, the killer whale, and it has literally adapted to all the different environments around the world. I mean, I know it's evident in sharks because of different species, but this is like the one species that has evolved, and it's like
Yeah.
that blows my mind on how much, because obviously it's going to need more efficient like in symmetric, whatever the word is for swimming. So the transients would have a different shaped dorsal fin because they wouldn't have such a floppy one, because it wouldn't make such for the long distance swim. Like it's just
It's so much.
sorry, this stuff like blows my mind.
It's fascinating, and that's one thing. Like
I love all that.
it's so
Wait,
cool about.
this is gonna
Go
blow
ahead.
your mind even more.
Oh,
So,
Yeah.
in New Zealand, they feed specifically on sharks, so their jaw shape is different.
Yeah.
And their teeth shape are
Telling
different.
you.
They have more flat teeth.
So
Because
can I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
like I sent Daniel some pictures to like kind of like, and then I sent him like the ecological differences and everything. So like in the
I
Antarctic,
want to see that.
Yeah, I want the poster that I sent to Daniel.
Yeah, I'm having trouble pulling it up on here, but I think I can.
I might be able to put it on my phone and bring it up to the.
This is what I was telling you about before, Emily, which is so cool with the South Carolina bottlenose dolphins. That, yeah, there we go. If you can kind of see it,
Oh
I
my
can send it
gosh.
to you. I can send
So
it to
those
you
are
as
all
well.
the different kinds of orcas.
Let me see if I can get it to pull
Yeah.
up.
And then
Wow. Wow,
this is
some are
what-
bigger, like girthier than some of the other ones. Don't come for me for
it's
that.
hard because the screen is. So this is what.
Oh, there. That's kind of a better shadow. Yeah, I can see it.
Typical orca skull.
Okay.
And then, like, this is showing the difference between the jaw shapes of the residents.
Let me see what this does.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second.
Oh, I got it. Yeah, I see that. That's good.
Yeah, there we
Perfect.
go.
Nice, Daniel.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, again,
Tell me where you want, what screen you want.
that one's good for right now.
Okay.
So
Wow.
this is, again, the northern, the northern Pacific whales are the most studied, so we know most about these guys. Because, and when I was in college, they didn't even know that there was this many different ecotypes.
Mhm.
Like that's how new this this is, and it's amazing. So
That's so cool.
Yeah, so you can see the different their jaws are shaped different, and their teeth are shaped different. Or like they're worn differently.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the top one's a fish eater.
Yep.
Yeah, they say the bottom one's the bottom's the mammal, obviously eater because of the girth.
Yeah. And, I mean, they don't chew their food; they swallow it. So
yeah,
they swallow. Oh, that's interesting. Hey, I wanted to ask too. What are the reproductive rates? Like, how often do they actually reproduce? Is it like once a year, or is it every?
It depends on the pod.
Okay.
So
do they actually have to find mates outside of the pod, or how does that work?
So the two resident clans, they do sometimes they'll form those super pods.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there'll be hundreds of them together.
Wow.
And so the males stay with their moms for their whole lives.
Okay.
They're mama boys.
Mama's boys for real.
And then the females will break off and start their own matriline.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so the grandmothers will teach basically and it depends, because the moms and daughters will stay together too.
Okay. So it kind of is almost individually based upon the pods then?
Yeah. Orcas are the only other animal to menopause too.
Okay.
So when they turn 40, they don't they don't reproduce anymore. So their job then is to teach the younger orcas how to do all the things to live, and babysit and
so they reach a puberty, they reach a whole like, and so
Yeah,
they're
they're
literally
puberty.
like, so it's literally mammals. Like, okay, and I know
Yeah.
it sounds stupid, but being so into fish, I just
Marine
don't think of it
mammals.
like that.
Yeah,
But you know,
and
I
like,
don't think of it
Yeah,
like that,
no, I
and
get it.
that's why I was
well,
asking. So like, then they have the possibility
they're
of
the
breeding every year.
so it's 18 months, I believe, is their gestation period
Oh,
for
okay.
orcas.
Yeah.
And then they don't do it every time because they need to like raise that calf.
Mhm.
Yep.
So it's when the calf
Right.
hits about 2, I think, is when they'll breed
Oh.
again. But the birth rates are really low.
Mhm.
Are they okay?
Because them being the top of their food chain makes the toxins
Yep.
stay into their blood. And what they're showing is that the first calf that the female has usually doesn't survive because it's so full of toxins. Because that's how the mother can offload all the toxins in herself.
Oh
So
wow.
the first calf doesn't have it, the survival rate that like their
Mhm.
second calf would have.
Mhm.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That makes sense though
and
too, because the large apex predators of sharks have usually high contents of mercury and such like that because they're so large and whatever else. So that, I mean, not large,
Yeah.
but so much they eat such. Yeah, that's really cool. That's
Well,
it's such a there.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I should say that
I gotta give my dog
there
water.
aren't so many differences.
You're
That's
good.
really
I'm gonna remove this off here. There we go.
That's really cool and interesting though, Daniel, to think about because
Yeah.
so because I was thinking about with the megalodon being in existence, we obviously had the great white and the orca were supposedly in the rise in their species and in existence as the megalodon was going down. So it was part of a competition aspect.
Yeah.
And so do you think that, because I know that there's been many different species of great whites, do you think that there's been different species of orcas as their timeline goes on or lineages?
I mean,
Or do you think it's
Dana,
just
do you
kind
want
of
to
like
put
what we're
that
seeing today?
ecotype one on?
Hmm?
Like, if you want to put the ecotype one on.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes.
Because I think like I don't know if they're considered the same species, but they're different ecotypes, and each ecotype is not only morphologically different. Like
this one.
Yeah,
God, that's so cool.
So
Got it.
each of these is different. So like you've got your top. Thanks.
Yeah, Daniel, thank you.
You're welcome.
So the residents are fish eating.
Wow,
And then you've
you
got
can totally tell.
And then you've got the like all the way down in the Antarctic one, the one with a teeny tiny eye patch that kind of like that's your type D subarctic Antarctic type, and they are also fish eating.
That would make sense too. Okay, I get the
So,
body
like,
shape is so.
it's so
I love
weird.
this.
It's so weird.
It's very cool.
And like they're very large versus like your Ross Island, which is they're smaller because they actually prey, like they're also in the Antarctic, but they have to live in the ice packs, so they're smaller.
Yep.
And they're different colored.
Which would, makes sense.
And then like the one that's more yellowish, that's also in like lives in like the icy flows and stuff, and that's because there's a special algae that grows on their skin to help protect their skin. And like they eat both mammals and fish.
Okay.
And then
you can see that they're kind of a decent size.
Yeah, so like that's kind of like size wise is what you've got here, and you've got your males versus your females too. So that's why there's two of each. So your males are the ones with the taller dorsal fins. Your females are the ones with the smaller dorsal fins.
Okay.
So like I think you're looking at a diversion of because they're genetically different too. So like
so they won't qualify them as different species. They just qualify them as different like clans, like you said, and then
ecotypes is what they're calling them.
Ecotypes.
Yeah, and I don't like. I mean, genetic. I don't know what causes species versus genetics, like versus breeds.
Right,
like,
I don't either.
Again, it's all about like what people decide to name them.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like I'm like, oh, are they different breeds? Oh,
right.
No. You found
we got the squeaker toy now.
Oh, it's his most annoying toy.
Oh no.
Maui, can I have
Hey, we're doing a podcast, Maui.
Yeah, Maui, only a few more minutes, buddy. We promise. We won't keep her for too much longer. But yeah, so that's really interesting. So the ones that mainly, so not all orcas of all lands will take out sharks. Is that correct?
Yeah,
If
so
that's not
it's a learned behavior.
okay.
So it has to be passed on.
Okay.
So, like, one
That's
animal,
interesting to learn behavior. Okay.
yeah, and like just last week actually, the first documented video of a female lone orca taking out a great white shark happened.
I saw that too. I was
She's
tagged in it.
she's a 60-year-old orca.
Oh wow.
What is their lifespan?
So she's about probably around the end of her lifespan.
Yes, I thought it was give or take around that.
Yeah, I mean their lifespans are similar to ours.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, and it depends on human versus like, it's hard to
Sure.
say whether what they could be under human care because the
Right,
orcas
with the
that
proper nutrition and
yeah,
care and all
honestly,
that stuff, they could live. Correct.
in my opinion, orcas under human care should be under a different ecotype than like the wild counterparts because they have different behaviors, they have different like social structures, they have different ways of communicating with each other than like, because you're not going to be able to take an orca that was born under human care and then put it out in the wild and expect it to live like with no problem.
And that's unfortunate too that people don't get that. They're very, very strong on the opinion that they shouldn't be held in captivity. Now, I agree with them. I mean, it's difficult to have that large of an animal in captivity. You shouldn't really keep it, but there are reasons why you can't release the ones that are still in captivity out into the wild because they won't be able to survive. They won't be able to hunt. They won't be accepted by another family or pod. Am I correct? Like, is that
right? I mean, so you're gonna have a lot of people going, "Oh, what about Keiko?" Keiko was not a success. He never fully integrated with the pod of orca in Norway. He never truly was able to feed himself. Like, he was seen, feeding himself a little bit, but not to sustain himself.
right?
And to clarify, this is a captive orca that they released.
Yeah, this is the Star of Free Willy.
Okay.
So he's like the most famous orca in the world.
Yeah. And they booted him. They booted him out the door into the ocean.
Besides
so
Tillicum.
Yeah, of course. Well, famous for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I love Tilly. He was my favorite when I worked at SeaWorld. But yeah, so like they're gonna use that as a like, oh, we released him, sea pens. But what's the difference between a sea pen and a self-contained like there's
aquarium tank?
Yeah, like you're getting actually better water quality, like
I know.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Depending on the facility you're in.
Of course. Well, yes, let's clarify that. That's Chelsea. Let's clarify that.
Clarification.
First-hand experience.
You're looking for AZA quality.
Yes, there's a good one. There's clarify.
So that could be a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
Hey, we don't have to have a time limit. We can go as long as you want to go. That's the great thing about this. I did have a question too. This is probably a dumb question, but I grew up on the water here. The orca's range is global. How come I've never seen an orca, heard an orca, or had a report of an orca off the Carolinas?
I mean, they're there. They're just probably so like.
I think they're like way offshore. They're not going to.
Yeah, they're way offshore. Like, there's literally a single male orca that appears in Maine every single year. I think around this time, honestly. His name's Old Tom, and he's a single male orca. They see him. They see him once a year. He's going from like wherever he's from to like Nova Scotia. They had like.
I guess the thing with South Carolina maybe that because I don't know, because we have so many southern stingrays in South Carolina. They are everywhere. One of the reasons why we use them so much for bait because they're all over the place. And I know that there are orcas that eat ray. So that's why I was curious as to why we've never seen them inshore with the large amount of stingrays here. But the thing with South Carolina too is, if you look at a map, actually I'm probably pulling it. Well, that's too much.
I was going to say, isn't it terrain?
Well, I guess I can let me pull one up real quick, and I'll see if I can.
And never mind that, but isn't that like a real big shipping kind of area? Wouldn't that you want to stay away from that, or do you think it's?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
It could also be
container shipping.
It could also be that nobody there isn't a ecotype or a clan of orcas that know how to eat rays.
I guess,
That's
yeah.
established there.
So, like, if they're
Okay.
mammal eating, they're not going to necessarily look at this flat fish and go, "I think you
I
look
get it.
tasty."
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Unless they
I was
have.
just curious because I've always we have a lot of obviously dolphins, and like when we get offshore, we have
Yeah, we
rough-nosed
do.
dolphins. We have
We have like I live
you have
there.
bottlenoses, right?
yeah. So our inshore dolphins that everybody sees are Atlantic bottlenose, and then we do have a bunch of offshore. We have the pantropical spotted. We have spotted. We have rough toothed. We have oh geez,
I'm jealous.
we have a good bit of dolphins here because
You
like
guys have common too, right?
yeah. So the thing with South Carolina, which is really cool, is our ecosystems like our marine ecosystems is unique because if you look at the map of the country and you see Florida comes out here and then it kind of comes in with Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and then it comes back up. So the Carolinas are very far from the continental shelf, like the deep blue water.
Yeah.
So what that creates is a large area of water that is relatively shallow. I'm talking 60 feet to 300, 400 feet. So not like super deep, which is one of the main reasons why we have such a large tiger shark population here is because they pup here. And that's what my question, I guess, is it because it's such shallow water? Maybe the orcas aren't interested. I don't know. But
I don't know, because you have orcas in the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah,
And like,
But what I like though is
good population too. Like, there's like over 200 of them there.
Yeah, true.
Wow.
So like,
well, I can take you like if you ever come down and we go out on the boat, like we go.
Yeah.
The cool thing about where we live is Charles. Like inshore is very murky and green, and because we have the marsh and the mud, and we have a very high tide swing. Our tide swings 6 to 7 feet on average, so we get a lot of water flow. A lot of mud gets pushed out of the salt marshes and stuff. But you only have to go a few miles out of the harbor mouth before it clears to clear water. So once you get out there, you start seeing the pantropical spotteds, the Atlantic spotteds. There's all the dolphin species.
Yeah, Chelsea, you should come down when I go down too. We should all meet up and go fishing.
Now that we have the research boat now that we're using, we have access to be able to get out there and
I need to
see
start
different things.
making the non-zookeeper money.
Yeah, right.
So we a couple years ago we had the opportunity to and I tell this story a lot, but offshore probably 30 40 miles. I was younger, but probably 30 40 miles, flat calm ocean, and you just hear this thing that sounds like a gunshot echo across the water, and we see a bunch of turbulent water. We shoot over to it. It's a pod of northern right whales.
Oh my god!
One of the coolest things I've ever seen. And when we called it in, they're like, I don't know what their numbers are now, but at the time there was like 500 left or something. I don't remember what it was.
I think it's 300 and something.
It's so crazy. But we idled there.
gosh.
I have old pictures of this, but we idled there for a while and just watched these northern right whales.
Yeah, I actually have a similar, like, the last time I went on a whale watch, I was with my best friend, and it was out of Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And like, it was her mom's friend, my best friend, and myself, and I'm sitting in the front of the bow of the ship, and I see the blow, and then I see the back, and then I don't see a fin, and then I see like it go down. I was like, oh my god, that's a right whale.
Yeah.
And like, there's this lady next to me, and she's like, you don't know what you're talking about.
There's always one of those people around.
I can't with these people.
You don't understand. There's like, these are so rare. Like, you don't see them.
Yeah.
Like,
That's so cool.
That's a right whale.
Yeah.
And then, like, I don't know, 5 minutes later, the naturalist on board goes, you guys are in a rare treat. And then
it's a right whale.
And then a second blow happens.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we saw two together. We think that they might have been courting. Like, so that's to say it like that. And so a wild orca, a blue whale, and a right whale were always on my list of things that I want to see. So I've seen one of them.
That's awesome.
I'm going to try to pull up these old pictures from my Facebook.
I have to say, though, this is really cool to get to know a little bit more about marine mammals because, like I always say, I'm like, it's not that I dislike them, but no, I would never want to see one.
Yeah,
and
I've got like a fascination with sharks, but I don't know anything about them. Like,
yeah,
like their skin's rough. They're like, they're not as evil as people think they are.
Exactly.
I mean,
but I didn't realize that they differed so much, so vastly Do you know what I mean? I didn't
Look at this.
realize that there were so many different types. What is the name of it? Is it morphological? Is that what it is?
Morphological differences, yeah. Just means
I
Not
didn't
very-
realize.
Not very good pictures, but you can see
I
definitely
mean, it's
these
so
are
good
right
to
whales.
see the fact that there's no dorsal. There's
Yeah.
that beautiful
See this.
blowhole.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that, like, so for baleen whales, you can actually tell the species of baleen by the spout.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, cool.
yes.
Yeah.
So like a sperm whale goes this way, a right whale.
Oh, sorry, I muted you.
Oh,
Sorry.
There you go. Nope.
Sorry about that. I had an audio issue there for a minute. That's my fault.
Yeah, so
You're good. Go ahead.
Like, the right whale does the V, I believe.
Yeah.
Like, so humpbacks do something.
I should go on a whale watch. I should do that. That would be better.
Totally. Where's the place down in? Is it in California? Where is it?
You
It
can
might
go
be
right
down
off
in.
of where I live.
Well, there's
They
a
have
place.
bunch of-
The reason I know this is I was watching one of the forest episodes, and they were down somewhere where this gray whales will actually come up to your boat and just
Baja,
people will
Mexico.
in Baja. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Baja,
they
Mexico.
come up and they're like, they want like
They'll get
parasites.
scratches and stuff. Yeah, and they were picking. Yeah.
Pick the parasite. The
barnacle.
There's a special name for them that I can't remember.
Yeah, they
But,
talk about
like,
it in that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of my former interns is working on a whale watch boat in California.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
she's like, oh, you can come visit me. I was like, okay. And she's like, I see orca all the time. And I'm like, I hate you a little bit.
You're like, whatever.
That area down there in like is it the Gulf of, not the Gulf of Mexico, obviously the Gulf of California, I guess, Baja, everything.
Yeah.
You talked about this earlier in the show, and I can never say it. The vaquita, I can never say the word.
Yeah, so there's a tiny little population.
Emily, you need to Google this and look up this.
I think there's still 10.
It's one of the like they're very cute, but it's one of like the saddest stories right now in marine mammals. There's so few of these things left. They're the smallest little porpoises, and their range is like they're like the tiniest little range in the Gulf of California, and they're not doing great. And there's so much people on it trying to.
They're functionally extinct. I mean,
that's the word. Yeah, functionally extinct. Yeah.
Like, there's no way that they're gonna come back. I mean, I know in 2014, I think it was, they had an operation where they were gonna try and capture a couple to see if they could get some under human care to
breed them,
to like breed and then reintroduce, because that has helped in like other species, not necessarily like, I mean, that's how we've like reintroduced black-footed ferrets. We've reintroduced the Indian condor. Like, there's several species that
there's some pretty cool stuff going on in, I can't remember the name of the company out of Boston that's doing this genetic DNA stuff. That there's like a list of animals that there it is. Look how small the range is. That's all they have.
Gosh.
That's all they have.
And then when this book was made, which was way long ago.
Well, the vaquita is one of the animals on this company's list that they want to try to bring back with basically cloning and stuff. It's pretty cool what they're trying to do.
This population in this book says 105 to have 500.
Oh yeah, that's definitely wrong. That's outdated.
Yeah. Was that in like the 1970s?
Yeah, like 10 left in their range.
Like, literally.
Exactly.
Like, and unfortunately, so one of the things that they didn't realize with porpoises is that like their stress response is different than like dolphins. So instead of their stress like going up, they like stop breathing. Like it's a different mechanics in their organs. So like that's what was happening, was that they were getting so stressed out they just like have an aneurysm.
So real like flight, but a fright experience. There's no fight or flight. It's fright.
That's why they stopped the operation of trying to capture. There was a baby last year. Yeah. But like, I mean, I don't know if it's still alive or not, but it's probably inbred and the genetics are not going to be great. So
this is kind of like a segue that I was segue here, because we talked about marine mammals. I want to talk a little bit about some land mammals that I'm like, I'm a big, I don't want to call them cryptids because they're not cryptids. I'm big into like like we talked about it on the first episode. I know Emily was probably like, "What the hell are you talking about?" The thylacine and all that. Like, what is your opinion on like that, for example? Like, do you know anything about anything being done in the field, or if they've with thylacine, the Tasmanian tiger, which is a really cool
Yeah.
marsupial dog tiger
Yeah, it
thing?
was really weird that we actually have we have it on video of it
Yeah,
existing.
so I know
It
that
was in like a zoo.
the last one,
We have to watch our time, Daniel, though, just so you know, we're at an hour.
okay.
We can
Gotcha.
always film, and I'm not saying that. I'm just saying so we can always do another episode with her too.
I'll just
and
kick
kind
Emily out, and we'll just talk.
You can do that
I'm
too.
kidding. I'm
You
kidding.
can
Well,
talk.
I know I'm not gonna make a whole nother segment. I was just curious because I don't get.
I think
Yeah.
there's always a possibility, but it's really hard with the fact that humans are encroaching on so much land and
Yeah.
so much. Like we've explored and we've also taken so much from the nature that it's really hard to sustain those micro populations. And so something so endemic to one's area, especially when you're talking about Australia or those like island things,
Tasmania,
the fact that
Papua
you can
New Guinea.
you take away one little thing and it collapses your ecosystem.
Yep.
So
that's what happened. The introduction of dingoes. That's what one of the main things that took out that species. Which is crazy.
So like you're talking about like sometimes like.
Oh, sorry. I don't know why it keeps doing this.
Hold on, Chelsea. There you go.
There you go. It's like it muted you for some reason again. I'm not sure
why.
I got you. We're good.
I was just watching something on TikTok about dune restoration,
and
like how like when they were building the railroads, they brought in like Spanish grass, and it killed all the native grass, and then it also killed all the native species that were endemic to that area of California. And like it also debeautified it because like you're missing all those wild strawberries, you're missing, and then the animals that relied on that specific strawberry can no longer produce, or they have to evolve. There was something about some kind of butterfly or moth where farmers would put like a specific clover or something in their fields, and the moth adapted to having those clovers. But then when the farmers stopped farming that land, they couldn't go back to their original, like fauna took over, but they couldn't adapt back quick enough, so like that whole species died off.
It's so fragile. If you're ever curious, like just Google just North America. You can just stay in North America. The number of species that have gone extinct that you don't even think about. Like I was reading about the a species of woodpecker down in Louisiana the other day that they don't know if it's still out there. I'm not remember. It's a very big bird. I can't remember what the name is, but there's so many of those that you don't even realize are either extinct or on the verge of extinction. But
I mean,
it's crazy.
We used to have a species of parrot in North America.
I remember seeing that too.
They were actually, I think they're called the North American parrot or something.
Yeah,
I think so
like
too.
North Carolina parrot or something.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like there's a lot of sideshow information. Like I watch a lot of Hank Green.
Yeah, I get you. Okay, so cool. Well, I'm glad we got to dive into some. Get it?
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, I can literally talk about orcas for hours.
Well, I think that we should have you back on in like a few weeks or whatever, just to talk about something. I'm sure there's going to be some new thing going to be happening with sharks and orcas together.
Oh, I'm sure. Like,
well, not like orcas. Orcas are like sharks, as they're polarizing. They're going to be in the news. If anything pops up with an orca, it's always going to be.
Yeah, between that and like the rudder stealing and like.
Oh, I know. There's so it's so crazy. But
as a new sailor, it's kind of.
Oh no. Gotcha.
But yeah, port and starboard, the two.
Oh yeah.
They're the ones that are like really known for killing your great whites.
Yeah, port and starboard.
And usually they work together, but starboard just killed one by himself. So.
Oh jeez. Oh jeez.
It was a juvenile.
That's him, okay.
But yeah.
I gotcha. Very cool. Well, I'm always down to talk marine mammals or mammals, but
any kind of animal, like
for sure.
Like you're like, oh, you want to talk about this weird species of ferret? Heck yeah, I want to talk about this weird species of ferret.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we try to keep it. we try to keep it to an hour each
Yeah,
episode.
just so
It's kind of hard.
people
Yeah, we
will
don't
watch.
want people. Yeah. But I do want to have you back on again. We'll talk about some other stuff because I do want to
Heck
talk a
yes,
little bit
we
more
do.
about.
And also, if you have anything cool that you can talk about in your zoo, about your zoo or any of those animals for a new one, that would be awesome. Then we can kind of
I mean, definitely
different things. So let us know if you have anything cool.
Yeah,
but I didn't know if
absolutely.
you could talk about any of them. So we should coordinate another time where
we'll
you
have
can
a
come
part
on
2. We'll have a part 2 for sure.
Heck yeah.
But I do.
Everybody stay tuned for more Chelsea.
Yeah, stay tuned for Chelsea. That was great. I appreciate you talking about the orcas and everything. I think we learned a lot there.
I actually learned a lot.
Yeah, I love dolphins. And
pretty happy with that.
Very,
I love
very.
learning.
I love talking about that stuff. But I do. Next time we talk to you, I would like to dive into a little bit more on the generational learning in dolphins, which I think is very cool.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's very, very cool. But anyway, thanks for hanging out with us and chatting with us, and yeah, we'll have you back on again. And I'll do you have socials or anything you want to put out into the world, or
plug your TikTok?
Plug your TikTok.
I was gonna say my TikTok is Chelsea and Maui.
Okay.
It's.
And she comes in my lives a lot too, you guys.
I
so
do.
whenever she does,
I'll try to slide into Shark Lady Emily's DMs and you know,
I love
all
it.
that.
I love it. Awesome.
But with my full-time job, it's a little hard to keep up with posting all the TikToks.
I was gonna say you should do some zookeeper TikToks.
She does do some.
I just posted like the opossum training. I just
cool. Okay, right on. I'm gonna have to go check it out. Yeah, very cool.
The black-footed ferret one is I think I have to weigh her again sometime this week, so I'll try to post a video of doing that.
That'd be good. Yeah.
But yeah, I try to repost a lot of the zoos ones because sometimes I'm actually on the zoo's TikTok.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So, because our zoo has a TikTok, it's called Topeka Zoo.
Topeka Zoo. Okay.
Nice.
I'll make sure I'll put the social links somewhere on the screen before we upload.
Yeah,
so you guys have.
We're super proud of what we do. We're AZA accredited.
Awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
We give away so much money to help animals out in the wild. Not only we're not only helping animals here under human care, but we're also providing help for animals out in the wild.
And money for conservation.
Yeah, conservation is part of our name. Actually, it's technically
people don't realize that
conservation.
Yeah,
that's a huge part of zoos and aquariums, especially when they're AZA accredited. That's just what they do. It's the whole reason why they're providing education
and I mean,
and
maybe
also
in a
conservation.
future podcast I can talk more about that because
that'd be good.
We actually pay the salary of 3 different forest rangers and a veterinarian in Sumatra.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
So
cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
well, definitely
on that too.
Yeah, I'll link your TikTok and the zoo's TikTok too, and then everybody can go follow them and look at all the cool stuff. But
yeah, I'll try to post more. No guarantees.
That's okay. Awesome. Well,
questions.
Yes, you got it. Well, thanks for joining us, and
thank you, Chelsea.
I had fun.
It's really great meeting you, Dan.
Absolutely, yeah, you too. Absolutely.
We love you. Wait, there we go.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll have you back on the show again, but we do record once a week, so we'll be back. We might be recording another episode this week with one of my friends who works with the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy. So we're pretty excited about that.
I follow them.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty excited about that. So he's actually the only reason he wasn't able to come on earlier was he's literally chasing a dead whale offshore right now. That's floating off of South Carolina that apparently has a lot of white sharks on it. So he's out there chasing that down right now, trying to film it.
There's a dead sperm whale off of one of the Florida beaches again. So.
I've been tagged in so many things like
but apparently it's covered in sharks. So he's out there trying to film that.
Hey. So. Oh my god!
Love it.
Anyway, thanks for joining, and we'll have you back on the show another time. So have a good night, everybody.
Night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.